A very warm welcome to richplanet.net, the programme which aims to uncover the truth behind the alien and UFO mystery. I'm Richard D. Hall, and this week's programme is about UFOs. Before we get underway, I want to explain why the UFO subject is so important to me personally. Having studied the information that's available, it is clear that the extraterrestrial phenomenon is being played down and hidden from the population at large. But it's not just information about UFOs and ETs that I would like the government to come clean about. It's all the other information which I believe is being hidden from the public, which is cloaked by the same layer of secrecy. So what are these secrets? I'm going to list 30 secrets and split them into 3 categories: definite, probable, and possible. These are my own personal beliefs at this point in time, and I don't expect everyone to agree with them. I believe that many of these secrets have been gleaned from our extraterrestrial visitors. Definite secrets include technology to go to the stars, including anti-gravity propulsion, free energy technology, which is 100% clean, wireless transmission of power, magnetic beam technology, underground bases throughout the world, some of which are shared with ETs, structures and bases on the far side of the moon, detailed knowledge of over 50 types of extraterrestrial, knowledge about ET societies, including that some run without money, motives and ideologies of ET races, and knowledge of the planets from which ETs originate. Probable secrets include knowledge of man's true genetic and historic origins, and whether our genetics have been manipulated in the past, the purpose of the alien abduction program, knowledge about the structures on Mars, knowledge of when ET races have visited Earth throughout our history, whether ET races believe in a universal God, knowledge of previously advanced civilizations which have lived on Earth, information on Earth's disasters, including floods and wars, time travel or the ability to view the future, remote viewing, and the unified theory of physics, including knowledge of the so-called Higgs boson. And finally, possible secrets include knowledge of whether human beings have a spirit, what a spirit is in scientific terms, knowledge of whether human beings reincarnate when our physical body dies, a cure for AIDS, a cure for cancer, knowledge of who built the pyramids and what the real purpose was, knowledge of the inner workings of the atom and whether the atom itself can cease to be tangible in our known universe by changing its vibrational state, how the universe manifested itself, whether there are other universes, and finally, whether there is a reason for 95% of our DNA being seemingly redundant. In this and in the forthcoming programs, I requested the opinions of 3 experts, who between them have been investigating the UFO subject for many decades. Tim Good is one of the world's leading UFO investigators. In his worldwide research, he has interviewed key witnesses and discussed the subject with astronauts, military and intelligence specialists, pilots, politicians, and scientists. Gary Heseltine is a detective constable and has researched hundreds of police UFO cases in the UK, involving 700 British police officers. His PRUFOS database, the police reporting of UFO sightings, has been compiled over the last 7 years of investigation. David Boyle is an expert on conspiracy theories and the UFO phenomenon. He runs a fascinating visitor attraction at Blackpool called the Exhibition of the Workings of the Universe. I started by asking Gary Heseltine to describe the PRUFOS database.
So in total, we're now looking over 300 reports going back to 1901, involving over 700 British police officers. With every year, broadly speaking, I put 100 officers involved, because like some cases may involve 5, others 2, some 10, some 14. I mean, there is a particular case up that's released under the MOD files about Hexham and that sort of Ashington, and there's a case there that involves 14 officers seen from 4 different vantage points. There are 4 patrol cars of 2 officers and 6 officers on the ground, walking the beats.
I asked Gary if there were any cases where officers had come within very close range of a UFO.
Yeah, no. Again, with all the cases on the database now, I didn't do it for the first 4 reports, but I then started to adopt the HINEC classification system. Close encounter of the first kind, second kind, third kind, nocturnal lights, daylight discs, etc. So they're all broken down like that. The most common one obviously seen is nocturnal light. This is the most common police type of sighting, is a bright white light, like what I saw at 2 or 3 in the morning. There are probably now some 30 or 40 cases where they've been seen within what I call 400 metres.
Before we hear more from our UFO experts, I will explain a little bit about the theory behind some of the flying saucers which are seen in our skies. Many, but not all UFOs have a classic flying saucer shape, and there are many close-up photographs taken all over the world to back this up. In the last programme on UFOs, I explained the operation of the Bob Lazar craft, which uses element 115 at the heart of an antimatter nuclear reactor to generate a gravity wave, which is focused by 3 gravity amplifiers. This is not the only method proposed for anti-gravity propulsion. The following method is backed up by laboratory tests that have been carried out on Earth. Many flying saucer-shaped craft are reported to have a rotating outer ring. Some have 2 counter-rotating rings. It has long been suspected that the force of gravity is in some way linked to electromagnetism. The force that pulls us to the Earth is linked to the force within a magnet. Scientists call this the unified theory of physics, which describes all of the forces in the universe in one simple equation. This is the holy grail of physics, and scientists are still trying to discover it. In 1996, Russian scientist Eugene Podkletnov was experimenting with superconductors. A superconductor is a substance which at very low temperatures has 0 electrical resistance. This means if it is used in an electric generator, massive electric currents can be achieved. Conventional physics tells us that if you spin a conducting disk in a magnetic field, an electric current is generated. The faster the rotation, the higher the current. Podkletnov found that when a superconducting disk is spun at very high speed in a magnetic field, another effect is produced. If an object is placed in the center of the disk, its weight reduces due to an anti-gravity effect or gravitomagnetic field. It's believed that this type of machine could be improved by, instead of rotating a solid superconductor, a frictionless conducting liquid or superfluid could be used. The anti-gravity effect of such a machine would only be limited by how fast the liquid could rotate. If we were to use this technology to design a vehicle to travel into space, it would look like a flying saucer. In fact, it would have all of the characteristics which are observed with flying saucers, which are phenomenal gravity-defying acceleration, a large electric field, a glowing aura caused by the electric field, and totally silent operation. Ben Rich was head of Lockheed's Skunk Works, an organization which developed many experimental aircraft. Tim Good explained some of the secrets which he revealed during his retirement.
In 1993, 2 years before he died, Ben Rich made some very interesting statements at the University of California Department of Engineering. And 2 friends of mine, colleagues in UFO research, were present. And one of the things Ben Rich said was that he was asked about the UFO situation, and he said a lot of these projects are buried in very, very compartmentalized black budget things. Huge sums of money are involved, and it would take an act of God to get this out, to get the technology out, to benefit humanity. And he confirmed, he said, we now have the technology to go to the stars. That was in 1993. Okay. And he's made other comments confirming the existence of both extraterrestrial UFOs and what he sometimes referred to as UFO unfunded opportunities, which meant Earth-developed spacecraft, which the Americans have and have had for quite some time, just to confuse the whole UFO issue.
Gary Heseltine explains some UFO characteristics which are often observed in UFO sightings.
I've got a pretty good knowledge about the broad picture of UFOs and the history of it, and there are some definite flight-type characteristics that are seen now that I would say represent genuine UFO, i.e. instant acceleration, instant stop, vertical acceleration up into the air and down to the ground, reverses in direction, right-angled turns, all in silence, multiple objects sometimes separating and then going back into each other. They are classic, what I would call genuine UFO characteristics, things that we cannot do in the conventional sense.